I got confidence. Let me tell you, there's no stopping this. On my daily planet like Metropolis. This time I put it all up on the table, and the head be spinning so much like a dreidel. Sight these people right before the KO, turning all these horns up in a halo. I may be weak, but my God is able. Death to viral, every word is fatal. Streets the truth and everything's a fable. What you say though? I gotta make it count. 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 Glory to glory, a different lane. I'm not perfect and I feel pain, but I change the game and you stay the same. It's always just me on another wave. Always grade A like an honor roll. You know me, mommy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Nebraska Christian College. Thanks for coming to chapel today. Let's worship together. There is a light that burns in the darkness. There is a hope that washes the fear away. There is a peace that settles around us. It is your love that sets our hearts ablaze. Light that burns in the darkness. There is a hope that washes the fear away. There is a peace that settles around us. It is your love that sets our hearts ablaze. Father, we're on our knees with every heartbeat. We bring you this offering. Lord, come and fill this place. Father, we're crying out. Spirit, we need you now. Glorious love surrounds us. Lord, come and fill this place. worship you place. Father, we're crying out. Spirit, we need you now. Glorious love surround. I will worship you. I will worship you always. And I will worship.
When I was asked to introduce our speaker today, I was extremely excited, and I have to say I would be disappointed if I had not been asked to introduce our speaker today. This is a student who, when I first met him, my first impression of him was, okay, he's got kind of a skater vibe going on with him, you know, and he's really laid back, he's a really chill guy. I kind of like this guy. I want to get to know him a little bit better. And I was really honored when he came to me and he said, hey, I'd like to hang out with you and do this mentoring kind of relationship or whatever. And what I thought was going to happen was that I was going to mentor him. But I know what happened, and I don't know if he intended this, but he actually mentored me in this relationship. Because what I discovered was that Jacob Salmans has got a rich life experience. And he has had a lot of positive things in his life, but a lot of tragedies as well that he has come through remarkably stable and mature and driven to achieve for the kingdom of God. And I just see him applying his life experience in his ministry with the youth at Reality Church. He takes everything he learns in the classroom and immediately applies it, and then he would come back to mentoring meetings and tell me stuff, and I'd say, oh, that's a really interesting idea, and then I'm quickly taking notes when he leaves and thinking, I need to start doing that. So this is a student who makes my job as a professor not only worthwhile, but who makes me better at my job as a professor. So it's my honor to introduce to you Jacob Salmans.
How do you follow something like that up? Like, I'm pretty sure I'm done. See you guys lunchtime. No, but wow. It is an honor to be here. This is so crazy to me, guys. So crazy. Senior sermon, here we are. Andrew Wood, man, if it wasn't for that guy, I don't know if I'm here right now, to be honest with you. Just he helped me out so much. But here we are. And guys, this is something that is so surreal for me. And maybe you know this about me. If you know me well, you probably do, but maybe you don't know me at all and you have no idea. So I'm going to clue you in on a little bit of why this is so crazy to me. To do so, we're going to have to go back in time about 5 years. It was the fall of 2012. I was 18 years old, just graduated high school. I was at a community college in Iowa, Southwestern Community College. And honestly, for me at this point, college was more of a facade. It was like, I'm going to college, so everybody thinks I'm going places, but really I'm just hanging out with my buddies. We're smoking weed. We're doing whatever we want. That's what we're doing. And that was college for me. And that had been my life for about 4 years up to this point. And it was something that I identified with. I loved it. It was, if you asked me, hey, Jake, tell me something about yourself, I would probably say, yeah, I smoke weed just about every day. That was who I was. And it enslaved me, really. I was enslaved to it. But in 2012, that lifestyle started to catch up to me a little bit in a way that I'm not really sure I was ready for. It was that summer before that. I'll back up just a little bit. I'd spent the summer hanging out with a friend of mine, and we were selling weed to people in Atlantic, Iowa, and we thought we were getting away with it, like most people do. We thought we were invincible. We were dumb kids. But that fall, September, around that time, I started getting text messages from a police officer saying things like, hey, I know what you've been doing, and if you don't start giving me some names, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. We're going to either names and the whole thing goes away, or no names, and you're going to be spending some time in jail. And I didn't believe him. I thought he was lying. So I was like, no, you're bluffing. I'm not going to give you names. I'm not falling for that. Well, he wasn't bluffing. And I found myself in November, 18 years old, sitting in a jail cell in Creston, Iowa. The charge was delivery of a controlled substance. That is a felony in every state. I'm pretty sure it's definitely a felony in Iowa. So here I was, 18 years old, facing 5 years in prison, and my life is over. I'm going to be in jail for the next 5 years. This was 5 years ago, by the way. But I was facing 5 years in prison and looking at, I'm going to get out. It's going to be hard to find a job, hard to go back to college, hard to have really any semblance of a good life. But that night, I learned something that changed my life. And honestly, I think if you guys get this today, and maybe you've already got it, but if you can get this, it will change yours too. See, at this point, until this point in my life, I had always seen God as kind of far off, right? Like he's not that interested in my life. Like he's kind of there, but he's more of a rule enforcer, like this kind of cosmic police officer, where really it's up to me to get things fixed and get my life together, and he's just there to kind of crack the whip when I need to or whatever. That was kind of how I viewed God. He was definitely not somebody who was interested in rescuing somebody like me, not in my mind. But that night, I prayed this prayer, something really weak. It was something like, God, if you're even there, if you could show up, that'd be great. And show up, oh my goodness. A couple months went by, and my phone rings, and I pick it up. It's my lawyer, and he says, Jake, forget about your court dates. What? He's like, oh yeah, the court messed up. They waited too long to file your paperwork. I got them for you. Don't worry about it. You're done. Like, you're good. Charges dropped. It's like nothing ever happened. And from that point, guys, that was not lost on me what happened there. From that point on, it was this journey that I was now on. Obviously, God was involved. Obviously, he was interested. Right, so I started on this journey of, all right, I'm going to give this to you. I'm going to give drugs to you first. 4.5 years clean. I'm gonna give you this. He starts saying things I didn't even know I was enslaved to. He's like, hey, give me that. Okay, and it's gone. Gone. I learned in 2012 that God is, in fact, willing to deliver people from slavery, the slavery of sin, when they cry out to him. And I bring all of that up because I think that, everybody in this room, we all have this problem with sin, right? We know that, or maybe we don't, but we all have this issue where we cannot stop doing the thing that we know we should not be doing. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. 114th Street, how many people have gone faster than 35 on that road? Wow, there's a bunch of liars in this room. I cannot go 35 on that road. It's like 50 at the least, okay? And maybe if I'm honest, yeah, right? If I'm honest, it's sometimes like 75, but y'all didn't hear that, okay? But no, we do that. Like, when we have this bent to do what we know we shouldn't do. And a lot of times when we've got a problem, it's like, I've got this problem, so I've got to be the one that figures out how to get through it. But I want to say, like, what if that truth that I learned back in 2012, what if that was true? What if that could change your life as much as it did mine? What if God is willing to deliver his people from slavery? I'll even make it a little bit more sweet for you. What if God would stop at nothing to deliver his people from slavery? How would that change the way that you view God? How could that? What are some things maybe that you are enslaved to that you never thought you could be free from that maybe you actually could? How could that change things? There was a time in Israel's history when they were enslaved, and it's not the same type of slavery that I've been talking about so far this morning. This is like chains on the wrist, like this is slavery, the way that you probably are thinking about it. It's slavery. And as we're following through Exodus this semester, we're seeing how God has called Moses, and he's raised him up and said, hey, you're going to be the one to go and lead my people out of slavery. And we see him coming to Pharaoh, and this Pharaoh is this guy who's super insecure, and he sees how big Israel is. And he says, no way, they're going to overthrow me. I'm going to oppress them. They're not going to have any power. And so God raises up Moses, and Moses is going to Pharaoh, and he's saying stuff like, hey, Pharaoh, let my people go, or there's some bad stuff that's going to happen. And Pharaoh's like, nah, I don't think so. And so we see this kind of cycle of Moses going to Pharaoh, hey, let my people go. Pharaoh saying, don't really want to, and something bad happens to Egypt. But at this point where we pick up, it's getting kind of bad. And God is about to unleash one last plague on the nation of Egypt. And so we're going to be in Exodus chapter 12. If you guys have your Bibles, please follow along. I'm not going to have it on the screen, so we're going to summarize some of it and read some of it. But basically what's going on in Exodus chapter 12 is God is saying to Moses, hey, I'm about to unleash one more plague on Egypt, and it's going to be a bad one. What I'm going to do is I'm going to send my angel of death around to all of the land of Egypt, and in every house, the firstborn son is going to die. It's going to happen. So here's what I want the nation of Israel to do. I want you guys to pick out a lamb, 1 year old, and hold on to him for 4 days. It's a male lamb, spotless, 1 year old. Hold on to him for 4 days. And on the fourth day, the whole land of Israel, everybody in the nation of Israel, is going to kill their lamb at the same time. They're going to take his blood, and they're going to put it on their doorpost. And then they're going to cook the lamb, they're going to eat the lamb, but they're going to be dressed and ready to go. And then when that happens, I'm going to send my angel of death around Egypt, and when he sees the blood of the lamb on the door, he'll pass over that house and go to the next. And if there's no blood of the lamb, then some pretty bad stuff's going to happen. I'm going to take their firstborn son. And then God says something along the lines of, hey, Moses, when this happens, after this happens, and you guys are in the promised land, don't forget this. In fact, this is going to be a festival for you to remember what I have done, that I have led you out of slavery. And so this is about the time where we pick up, verse 28 is where we're going to pick up at. So here we go. Moses has just told the Israelite people, and it's go time. So the people of Israel did just as the Lord commanded through Moses and Aaron. And that night at midnight, the Lord struck down all the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. Pharaoh and all his officials and all the people of the land of Egypt woke up during the night, and a loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died. Not a single house. I feel like sometimes when we read this passage or hear this passage read to us, it's almost like, cool, God is delivering Israel, exactly what I expected to have happen. But can you imagine what this would have been like for the Egyptians? Like, imagine if this happened in America today, where every single house lost somebody. That would be devastating. I have no idea what that would be like. I don't really know if I would want to be in that country, though. It's pretty crazy. And the Egyptians, they're devastated. This is how they respond. Verse 31, Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. During the night, he didn't even wait till morning. It's during the night. And he says, get out. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested. Take your flocks and herds. Oof, that's wrong. Herds. And be gone. Go, but bless me as you leave. Get a load of this guy. He's like, get out of my face, but bless me as you're leaving. Can you, I don't know. I just can't, I don't like that guy. Verse 33, all the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible, for they thought, we will all die. The Egyptians had seen this all before, right? God promises a plague. Pharaoh's stubborn. The plague happens. And they're like, there is no way we're going to let this happen again. We don't know what's going to happen next. He's already turned our water source into blood at one point. He sent locusts. He's now killed our firstborn sons. There's no way we're risking this. Get out of our land. So the Israelites, they get all their stuff together and they're going. But verse 36 is kind of where I want to pick back up. It says that the Lord caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the Israelites, and they gave the Israelites whatever they asked for. So they stripped the Egyptians of their wealth. That night, the people of Israel left Ramses and started for Succoth. There were about 600,000 men, along with the women and children, a rabble of non-Israelites, and a big number of flocks and herds of livestock. Do you guys see what just happened there? Like, I feel like when we look at the plagues sometimes, we look at, like, wow, that kind of sounds like this holy temper tantrum on God's part. Or like he's fighting with Pharaoh, and he said, like, Pharaoh, like, why won't you listen? Okay, fine, I'm just going to kill your kid. And then he does it. But it's not that, really. It's not really that. Instead, this is, if you look at Exodus chapter 4, God says about Israel that that's his son. And so really what we have is we have God delivering his son from the hand of a nation that has enslaved them for 400 years. And he does so. He goes to pretty great lengths to do so. But I want us to notice the way that Israel comes out of Egypt. It's not like God is waiting till midnight when nobody's awake and nobody's paying attention and just kind of quietly sneaking them out the back door. No, like, this is out the front door of Egypt. Like, the Egyptians are like, get out of our face. Here, take all of our jewels, take everything we have, just get out of our face. Like, they are going out of the front door of slavery, walking right out the front door, triumphantly. God not only delivers his people and goes to great lengths to do so, he does so triumphantly. And this is where all of the rituals that I kind of glossed over before come into play. Remember, I said that God told Moses, hey, don't forget this. This is going to be a festival for you. Every year you're going to remember this. And the reason is God does not want the Israelites to forget the lengths he went to save them from slavery. He doesn't want them to forget the truth. And the truth is this, that God will stop at nothing. God will stop at nothing to deliver his people from slavery. He proved it at the Passover, didn't he? In a way. But the way that he delivered the people of Israel at the Passover, that he only delivered them from Egypt. They still had this other kind of slavery that was kind of hanging over their head. They were still enslaved to sin. They were still, you look and they ended up spending like 40 years in the wilderness because they just couldn't figure it out. Go figure. Nobody can seem to figure it out. And so God, a couple thousand years ago, somewhere in between the Passover and today, we see God kind of taking this idea of delivering his people from slavery, taking it and putting all of his chips in the middle, saying, I'm going all in. You remember the Passover? I'm about to take that and up the ante a little bit because I'm going to do it for real this time. I'm going to do it once and for all. And so we see Jesus come on the scene, and Jesus is perfect, right? This is so important because Jesus is perfect, and the Bible says that the wages of sin is death. So when we sin against God, which, by the way, is pretty much every day, right, the consequence of that is death. But yet we see Jesus, who never sinned, and we find him hanging on a cross. Do you guys see the problem with that? If sin equals death, then why is the perfect one hanging on the cross? This is scandalous. Is it not? This is scandalous. There's no reason he should be there, yet he is. And why? Because this is God saying, hey, you know what? The Passover led my people out of Egypt, but this, my son, this is the one that's going to free them from sin. This is the one that's going to free them from death. This is my once and for all rescue plan right here, Jesus dying on the cross. And some of you in the room, this might be, I don't know, you're at a Bible college. I struggle to say this, but this might be the first time you've ever heard that. The fact that Jesus is God's chosen instrument of salvation. The only way for you to be free from sin, The only way for you to break free from the slavery that you might find yourself in, the only way is by placing your faith in Jesus. It's kind of like the Egyptians at the Passover, right? They had to trust that the lamb's blood was going to cover their house, right? When they put it on, they had to trust the angel of death was going to pass over. It's the same way. You got to trust in God's chosen instrument of salvation. That's the only way to make it out of this thing. And for some of you, I'm guessing that maybe you've been trying to break out of slavery to sin for a long time. You've been trying to do your own thing, but you've kind of seen God as not super interested and just kind of distant. And I'm telling you, he is not distant at all. In fact, he put himself literally in this situation. He took all of it on himself so that you might be freed from the slavery of sin by just believing in him. And so if that's you today, I want you to just stop trying to do it on your own. Stop trying to do it on your own. And stop seeing God as uninterested and distant, because he's not. And just reflect on the fact, what could God free you from if you trusted in his chosen instrument of salvation? And for the rest of us, because I realize that I'm speaking in a Bible college or a Christian college, and a lot of us probably already know a lot of this. How often do we remember that? Like, guys, I'm in Bible college too. Like, I'm a Bible college senior, and it's like every single week, it seems like Sunday comes and it's great. We have a great worship service at Reality, and then Wednesday comes and it's a great time with the kids, and then other than that, I'm pretty much just working for the next Wednesday or working for the next Sunday or doing homework or something like that. And I don't remember, I let it slip out of the front of my mind that God literally stopped at nothing to save me from slavery. Even when I'm up front preaching, I can forget the extent that he went to, the lengths that he went to. So I want us to remember what God has done for us. And I know that when I say remembering, that's kind of a weak application point. So we're actually going to put this to practice today. When Jesus died on the cross and he's taken the place of the Passover lamb, he also kind of took all of the things that were associated with Passover, like the Passover supper, and he kind of brought it over and maybe added a little extra meaning to it. And so we see Jesus kind of taking this ritual and saying, no, now you're going to remember me in this way every time you guys get together. So we're going to take communion together. The band's going to come up. There's going to be some servers come down and serve you guys communion. And I just want to say, if you're not sure where you're at with Jesus, maybe don't take communion. Maybe just reflect on what's been said, and maybe even pray that God would show himself to you. But for everybody else, I want you to, when you get your communion elements, would you just hold on to them? I'm going to come back up here and lead us in that. Careful, bud. Guys, in the meantime, I want you to just reflect on the fact that God literally stopped at nothing to free us from slavery. So I'm going to pray, and then we're going to sing a song. So, God, I thank you for the fact that even while we were sinners and enemies of you, you still sent your son. You still went all in on this plan to rescue us from sin. And God, we just thank you and praise you for that. And pray that you be with us as we celebrate that this morning. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
For I spoke the word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. turn. I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
When I was your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, you paid it all for me. Oh God, you have been so, so kind to me.
Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, but still I'm found, leaves at 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, but still I'm found, leaves at 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God.
What was the night that Jesus was to be arrested? Yeah, you guys can go ahead and take a seat real quick. It was the night that Jesus was to be arrested, and he finds himself at a table with his disciples. And I'm not really sure that the disciples fully understood what was happening, but I know that Jesus did. You know, he knows that he's about to go and be crucified and be, you know, the sacrifice, the new Passover lamb, if you will. So as he's sitting at this table with his disciples, he takes the bread and he breaks it, and he says, oh my goodness, this thing is crumbling in my hands. He says something along the lines of, "This is my body, broken on behalf of you. Take this in remembrance of me." Then he took the cup and he says, "Drink of this, all of you. For this is my blood of the covenant, which has been poured out for the sins of many." As we close out, guys, I just want to leave you with this question. What would it be like if we lived a life where we were keeping it in the front of our mind that Jesus, like that God literally stopped at nothing to free us from slavery? What could that be like? I know that we know it, but what if we kept it in the front of our mind? What if we let that be the filter through which we made our decisions? How could that change the way that you live? How could that be a game changer for the people who you're going to be leading or are leading right now? Because I have to think, just from the way that I've seen it play out in my own life, I have to think. In fact, I know that this would be a absolute game changer. If instead of just saying, "Oh yeah, I know all the stuff that we talk about at Bible college," but no, instead you're looking like constantly like, "Wow, that's how far you went for me?" Yeah, that is. Let's stand and sing one more song, guys.
There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Oh, it chases me down, but still I'm found, leaves 99. I couldn't turn, I don't deserve, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. In 1 Corinthians, it says, your boasting is not good. Do you not know that a little leaven leavens the whole lump? Cleanse out the old leaven that you may be a new lump, as you really are unleavened. For Christ our Passover lamb has been sacrificed. Let us therefore celebrate the festival, not with the old leaven, the leaven of malice and evil, but with the unleavened bread of sincerity and truth. The Old Testament talks about celebrating the Passover. It wasn't just a memorial thing. It wasn't something we remembered. It was something we celebrated. They came together and feasted because it was that big a deal. They were thanking God for saving them from his destruction, for saving them from slavery. Celebrate with us as we sing this song. Once was dead in sin, alone and hopeless. love your